Hello children, and welcome back to your English class with me, Sir LS. So our topic for today will be main verbs and state verbs. As I've mentioned before, verbs are the most important part in English grammar, and in the parts of speech I think the most important will be more important one will be this verb. Right, so please listen very carefully, and I'm breaking it down into many lessons because I want you to understand it from the beginning. See, that is why if you don't understand it from the beginning, it will be very hard for you to catch up from the middle part. That is why I want you to listen carefully and understand it from the beginning, from the basic. Alright, so please listen very carefully. So I've broken them down into many lessons. So the first one is main verb and state verb. So here we have main verbs and state verbs. So main verbs and state verbs are sometimes called dynamic and stative verbs. Here, dynamic verbs refer to actions. Right, dynamic verbs refer to actions. Stative verbs refer to state of being or condition. Here we have dynamic and stative. Yes, it's good if you know the meaning of this dynamic and stative, but if you don't know how to use them, that will be useless. So instead of trying to memorize all these terms, big terms, dynamic, stative, instead of concentrating on these terms, I want you to concentrate on how to use them. Alright, when to use the right verb with any given pronoun, or when to use the right verbs with any given nouns or pronouns, like that. Okay, so here, first of all, let's see what types and classification of verbs that we have. We have main verbs, state verbs, belonging verbs. These are the three basics of verbs. But anyhow, I have explained the introduction of this tree, so I think you get some ideas. When we say main verb, state verb and belonging verbs, I think you have some idea about it, right? And regular and irregular verbs, and transitive and intransitive verbs. And also we have action verbs, that will be physical and mental action. Okay, and helping verbs and auxiliary verbs, linking verbs and copular verbs, modal verbs, phrasal verbs, etc. There are other more verbs, but these are some of the common ones. Alright, so here we are going to start learning from the dynamic verbs or the main verbs. Sometimes main verbs is also called the doing word. Verbs are doing words. We have that definition. That's how you learn it in class 2 and class 3. Let's see. Doing word or action word or action verb. Here in action word we have physical action and mental action. Alright, mental action is something that we do with our mind. Alright, physical action we know it's doing something physically, but mental action means something that we do with our mind or that we do with our brain. Understand? So here, he sits on the chair means when you're going to sit, you have to move and you have to sit there. It involves physical action. And she plucks the flower means when you're going to pluck a flower from the plant, you have to go and, or you have to cut it sometimes, right? You have to pluck it from the flower plant. From the flower plant, you have to pluck it. So physical action is involved here. And here, John drinks the juice. John drinks the juice means when you're going to drink something, physical action is involved, right? Am I correct? Yes. And it's not juice, alright? It's juice. Remember that. Don't say juice, alright? It's juice. Ruth did not eat her lunch. Here, when you're going to eat also, physical action is involved. You have to move. They sing a song. Yes. In order to sing a song, in order to sing, you have to do it physically, right? Here. Now we are going to mental action. He thinks about his mother. When you think, are you doing anything physically? No. You just think it in your mind without moving your body, right? Without moving your physical body, you just think it in your mind. So he thinks about his mother. So that involves mental action. Something that happens inside the mind or inside the brain is called the mental. All right, mental. Excuse me. Sorry. When it happens inside the mind, we call it mental action. She believes in God. When you are going to believe something, do you have to move physically? No. You can sit back, relax, and just think from your head or your brain or your mind and just believe it in your heart, right? Joanna forgot the word meaning. When you forget something, is any physical action involved? No. It's a mental action. Did they like the food? When you like or dislike something, do you have to move around or do you have to move physically? No. It happens inside the mind, but it's still an action, alright? Because it is happening inside your mind. That is why we call it mental action. They planned to go there. When you are planning something, you plan it first in your head. If I say, please chalk out a plan for this building, so firstly you will have to think about it in your head, plan it out, and you will write the plan out, right? So you plan it first in your head, right? And then you write it down. So planning involves mental action. Here we are still in the physical action and mental action, the main verb, the dynamic verb, alright? We swim in the pool. Here, it's obvious when you're going to swim, physical action is obviously involved, right? I played music this morning. Here also, when you're going to play, you have to move physically. The dog bites. The dog bites him. Biting also involves physical action. I don't think I have to explain it further. Did they shout in the class? Shouting also. They don't write on the board. When you're going to write something or when you're writing something, physical action is involved. That is why it is a physical action and it is the main verb. Whenever we have a physical action or whenever we have an action word in a sentence, it is the main verb. It is always the main verb of a sentence. That is why it's important. We swim, so swim is the main verb here. I played music this morning, so played is the main verb because it involves action. Okay, but here in action we have physical and mental. We do not agree with her plan. In order to agree with something, you have to think it first in your head. You have to decide it in your mind, right? If someone asks you to go somewhere, you think it in your head and you say yes, I will come. So that means you agree. All right, first you think about it in your head. So it's a mental action. If you don't agree also, you think it in your mind and you say, no, I don't want to come. Like that. I find myself to be very strong. That means you're imagining yourself to be very strong. Sometimes when you look at yourself in the mirror, you find yourself very ugly, right? For me, I find only handsome. When I look at myself in the mirror, I find only handsome. But for you, I think it's ugly, right? So anyhow, jokes apart, I find myself to be very strong. Means I think about myself to be a strong man. Alright, thinking involves mental action here. She accepted the job offer. Here it's nearly the same with agree. Alright, accepted means here job offer means, for example, you are very good in something, in computer, or you are good in something else, and people know that you are good, so they will offer you a job, like they will invite you to work in their company. Can you come and work for us? Like that. That is a job offer. If you say, you will think about it, of course, how much you will earn or how much money you will make. First you will think about it in your head and you will accept it, right? Or you will not accept it. If you don't like it, you can say, no, I don't accept it. No, I will not work. That means you don't accept it. But if you want the money or if you want to work there, if you say yes, that means you accepted the job offer to work somewhere. Ruben dislikes fast food. Liking and disliking also, it happens in the head. It doesn't happen somewhere else in other parts of the body. It happens inside your mind. It recognized its master. Here we say it. So whenever we say it, it's not a human being anymore. So it might be a dog here. A dog will always know its master, whether it might be from a long distance. Dogs are very, very clever. So it recognized its master, means it knows its master. And I decide to share my lunch with him. Here also you have to think about it in your head. You have to decide it, whether you want to share or you don't want to share. If you want to share, that means you decided to share. You can say no or yes, but that kind of decision making happens in the mind, so that is a mental action. Okay. State verbs or stative verbs. It cannot be used in a continuous form. Here, I'm sorry, one word is missing here. It cannot be. Alright, it cannot be used in a continuous form. What is a continuous form? Continuous form means a word that ends with an ing. Alright, a word that ends with an ing. But stative verbs don't have ing form. You cannot have an ing form with stative verbs or state verbs. Understand? Here, continuous form means it cannot be used with verbs with an ing form. There are verbs with ing form: knowing, liking, right, doing, like that, do. Or when we say do, it's a simple present tense, but when we say doing, it is a continuous tense. All right. So, but we cannot have ing, a word with an ing, in stative verbs. Understand? Here, I am loving it, or I am loving sandwich. I love sandwich. Hold for a moment here. He is having a car. He has a car. They are knowing her. They know her. They are not having a house. They don't have a house. Misak is hating chips. Misak hates chips. So here, I am loving sandwich. See, you might hear people saying, I am loving it. I am having it, like that. But that is not correct. Grammatically, that is incorrect. Alright, sometimes you might hear it in a movie also, because people use it in informal conversation like that. So you might hear people saying, I am loving it, or I am liking it, like that, but that is not correct. Alright, grammatically that is not correct, but it is commonly used. But for you, when you are going to write it down, do not use I am loving it or he's having a car, like that. Instead of I am loving sandwich, the correct one is I love sandwich. He is having a car also. The correct one is he has a car. They are knowing her also. It's not correct. They know her. It's simply they know her. Understand? They are not having a house. They don't have a house. That will do. Misak is hating chips. No, that's not correct. Misak hates chips. Okay, please try to remember this, because it's very easy to use this kind of words. Alright, so try to avoid this. Some methods to learn stative verbs. There are some methods to learn stative verbs to make it more simple here. But before that, let's see some of the common examples of stative verbs. Is, am, are, was, were, being, been, be, etc., etc. These are the common examples of stative verbs, the common words of stative verbs. Alright, but apart from this, there are lots more, so we are going to learn that. But it's easier to identify stative verbs with feelings and emotions. Alright, when it involves feelings and emotions, we can know that the word that we use that has to do with feelings and emotions are stative verbs. Alright, here, I love to watch fantasy movies. So when love involves feelings, right, or emotions, so I love to watch fantasy movies. So love here is a state verb or stative verb. He likes Coke better than Fanta. Likes Coke better than Fanta. Here, likes is the stative verb. It has to do with feelings and emotions, but it's not an action word anymore. So here, we dislike bullies. Dislike bullies. Everybody dislike bullies, right? You surprised me with the gifts. When you're surprised, it happens inside the head first, and then you act it out or you shout it out, right? You're surprised inside first, it happens inside the mind, and then you said wow or something like that. John amused everyone with his jokes. What is the meaning of amused? Amuse means to have fun or to entertain someone. John amused everyone with his jokes. To make someone happy or to entertain someone with your jokes, with your action, or with your with your stunts. All right, you can amuse someone with your jokes, with your music, all right, with your voice, etc., like that. And with the five senses, what senses do we have? So with the five senses, we can have state verbs using the five senses. Let's see. Sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch. Sight means seeing. Hearing, you know, with the ear. Smell with the nose. Taste with the tongue. Touch with the hand. Okay. I hear the noises from downstairs. Here you use your sense of hearing. So the word here is the state verb, right? And he sees better with his spectacles. Here it involves the sense. What sense? Sight, seeing. So he sees means sees is a what? State verb or stative verb. Her perfume smells so good. Smells also has to do with the nose. You smell it with your nose, and the word that we can have from this particular sense called smells is a stative verb or a state verb. Understand? Vashni's cake tastes so good. You taste with your tongue. So you use your sense of taste. All right. So taste is the word taste is a stative verb or a state verb. The wall feels so rough. How will you know that the wall is rough? By touching it, right? You can feel it by touching it, whether it's soft or it's rough. Alright, so this particular sense feels. You feel it by touching the roughness. You can know it by touching it. So the word feels has something to do with the senses, and it is a state verb. With thoughts or thinking. Here thoughts. The past tense of think is thought, but the thoughts that we are saying here is the mind, right? As in the thought, the mind. It can be right both ways, right? Thoughts can be the mind, right? Or thinking also can be the mind. I forget everything. Here, there are dots here. I forget everything that we learned yesterday. Forget has to do something with the head, with your thoughts. Alright, so forget is a state verb. He still remembers all the things that we learned last year, like that. Remembers is a state verb, so it has to do with thoughts or thinking. We understand the Hindi lesson very well. We understand the Hindi lesson very well. So understand here is the state verb. When you understand something, it happens inside the mind, right? It doesn't happen in the leg, or it doesn't happen in the stomach. It happens in the mind, or it happens in the brain, right? So the word understand is the state verb. So in order to identify it, you have to use your thought or your thinking, right? Abel imagined himself as Iron Man. Sometimes we dream. As a kid, we used to dream so many times, right? Sometimes we acted like the superhero that we love, right? Even myself also, when I was young, I used to have this Spider-Man suit, ninja suit, like that. So we used to imagine ourselves as ninjas, like that. Okay, so that kind of imagination is called state verb. All right, when we imagined ourselves with something, the word imagined here is a state verb. Abel imagined himself as Iron Man. Imagined here is a state verb. Okay. Do you know that today is a holiday? Here, knowing something also is happening in the brain or in the head. So, in the thinking, or we can say in the thought. So, know here is a state verb again. Okay, so there are lots more to learn, but I will stop here. And before we end the lesson, let me give you some home assignment. Here, find out the meanings of these words and make sentences with them. Okay, first you have to find the meanings of the word. If you don't understand it, it will be impossible to make sentences with them. So find out the meaning first. Emotion words: frustrate, motivate, overwhelm. Find out the meanings. You don't have to write down the meanings, just try to understand the meanings and make sentences. Alright. And number 2, thinking words like consider, contemplate, wonder. So here also find out the meanings first, try to understand it, and then make sentences with them. 5 senses. Here, the 5 senses that we have, I have explained it. We have what? Seeing, hearing, taste, smell, touch. We have some example sentences here in this lesson, but do not use the same sentence. I want you to form a different sentence. I want you to form different sentences using this 5 senses. So that will be for your home assignment. So from the next class we will learn belonging verbs, and in the next we will do transitive verbs and intransitive verbs, like that. In order to cover verbs, it is going to take a long time. So in English 1 we have somehow finished Robinson Crusoe. That is why I gave importance to this verbs, because it's going to take a long time. So anyhow, that will be that. Please try to do your home assignment on your own, but you don't have to submit your answers. We will check it. I will give you the answers or the right sentences in the next class, in the class to come. Alright, in the next class. So that's all for now. So I'll see you in the next class. Thank you.